What's up, everyone? Taryn Bray here alongside Mike Vogel for a special edition of Caps 365. We are just a few games past the halfway mark of the season. The Capitals sit at the top of the standings, tied for first with 61 points and a 28-10-5 record. Very good start to the season. Maybe a little bit underwhelming over the last month, but still collecting points, which is the utmost importance. Maybe give me a brief top-line thought of the season so far.
I mean, there's not a lot that's gone wrong, right? It's you're getting offensive contributions from the defense at a rate that we haven't seen in almost 3 decades. Yep. You've got the same 6 defensemen that have played the last 30 games, which has made a big impact. The goaltending's been great, and it's been the least expensive from a salary cap standpoint tandem in the league by a fair amount. I mean, there's a lot to like about what's going on.
Yep.
I would also note that the worst part of the schedule is behind them.
Yes.
10 of the 13 back-to-backs are in the rear-view mirror. They had 4 of them in November, 4 of them in December. They in Toronto had the most of any team in the first half of the season. So the fact that they have such a good record with so much of the bad part of the schedule behind them is a real positive thing going into the second half, too.
Yeah.
Traditionally, in the 20 years that Alex Ovechkin's been in the league, their sweet spot is playing with just 1 day in between games. Their record in those type of games is significantly higher than any other situation, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 0 days between games. So they've got a lot of things going in their favor. There's certainly a couple of things that they've got to straighten out.
Yeah.
Also, I would say too that as good as they played in the first half, and as good a position as they're in right now, we've seen this before too. So, I mean, the hardest, the most important part, the part that matters to everyone, is what's still ahead. So there's a long way. They shouldn't be patting themselves on the back too much, but they should be really proud of the way they played so far.
Yeah. Let's talk about goaltending first. Charlie Lindgren, Logan Thompson, you mentioned, cheapest duo that we got, and they've been sticking to a rotation. 1 game off, 1 game off. They really have not deviated from that sort of system that they've got going on at all this season. Up until now, obviously, Charlie Lindgren placed on IR, so Logan Thompson will get those starts. What have you thought about the coach's decision to stay true to that rotation?
Yeah, I mean, if it works, don't fix it. And I think that's been the case. There's only been once. It was mid-November. When it was Charlie's turn, they gave Logan the start at home against Toronto, mostly because they wanted him to play the Vegas game, because they know he wanted to play the Vegas game, and that worked out fine. But that's been it. And I think it's a real amazing feather in their cap that they got past the midpoint of the season using just the 2 goalies, and with those goalies playing 60 minutes every night. Yeah. Nobody had to be relieved. Nobody had to be pulled because I'm trying to wake up the rest of the team, or this guy doesn't have it tonight. That did not happen. Charlie came out because he was hurt, and he was playing really well that night too. So that's really unfortunate. But as I said, now that you're past the worst of it, those back-to-backs, and you've got this stretch now between now and the beginning of the Four Nations tournament where you're essentially playing every other day, or you even have time between. Theoretically, you could give Logan all of those games, because that's essentially, it's not that different from the rotation that he's used to from the first half of the season. Yeah. I don't know that that's the way they're going to go, and maybe Charlie's good to come off IR this weekend. Yep. We'll see. We don't know. It's kind of early in the process right now, but I think they're comfortable with both goalies, and I think they're comfortable with Hunter Shepard if he needs to play too.
Yeah.
They got a couple of good games out of him last year, but I think ideally they would like to just keep rolling with these 2 guys.
And not to mention they're 4th in the league for goals against with 113. Yep. So they're obviously, the rotation is working. They're each playing their best hockey. So Good to see that. Let's move over to offensive production. Probably the biggest change season over season. They're tied for first with goals, 156, and we have 8 players with 10 or more goals. Obviously, a lot of success. Guys are having breakout seasons. Alexi Protas, Connor McMichael, to mention a few. And obviously, you mentioned defensemen contributing as well. Has that production been the biggest surprise to you so far this season?
I would say it's up there. Yeah, it probably is actually, especially given how hard it was for them to score last season, particularly the first half of last season. You do have obviously a number of new players coming in. I think a couple of new forwards, a couple of new defensemen, one new goaltender. So yeah, I think that was a little surprising, certainly to the degree that was going on and for how long it went on. So it's not really surprising that it's sort of a little frozen right now. They're still scoring enough to win to get points, but the 5-on-5 has dried up a fair amount, and the analytics that go behind that also not great right now. But you know, I will say, you brought it up earlier, the fact that they're getting points is amazing too. They're scratching out. I mean, they've gone 3 straight games right now as we sit here with fewer than 20 shots on net. Yet they pulled 5 out of a possible 6 points in those 3 games. That's kind of crazy, but also not sustainable. So you know, I think the coaches are aware of. Yeah, we've got to find some combinations that work. I would also say that going back to the point about the schedule, they've got a lot more practice time now too. So you look at, like, Ethan Frank comes up over the weekend. He's playing on a line in 2 games, back-to-back games, his first NHL games, with 2 guys that he's never practiced with before. And one of those guys, Taylor Radish, is playing on his offside. He hasn't done that at all this season, maybe a shift or 2 here or there. So getting out and being able to spend some time on the practice rink with reps, seeing how guys play, how you want them to play, understand how, you know, where they want pucks and that sort of thing. There's a lot of value in that too. So hopefully that can help stimulate the offense a little bit, because when you're playing 6 games in 10 nights, 3 and 4, 5 and 8, there's just not that practice. The rest is more of a weapon than practice is. So you're going to give guys rest rather than make them practice. So they're in a situation now, schedule-wise, between now and the beginning of that tournament, that they can try to massage some of these problems that they have out of their game, and I think that's what they're going to try to do.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that this season so far has impressed you?
I think the main thing for me is just the fact that you've got these 6 defensemen that have played 30 straight games together right now, and the team's record over those 30 games, and this goes back to November 9th when Jacob Chychrun came back into the lineup in St. Louis. 19-6-5, second best record in the league over that period of time. They're 3rd in goals scored, 3rd in goals against. They are number 1 on the power play, over 30% in that period of time. The power play, to me, has been kind of remarkable, because you'll watch it, you'll see them out there for 2 minutes, they'll struggle to enter, they'll struggle to get retrievals. You're like, what's going on here? And then with about 15 seconds left, they'll bag one and you know, change everything. As we sit here right now, I think they've scored a power play goal in 6 of their last 7 games. And with the 5-on-5 attack drying up a little bit, those power play goals that they've managed to score have been absolutely critical lately. And you saw it in Nashville on Saturday night, where they really don't have a whole lot going on. I don't think they'd even, it was 9 minutes into the second period, I believe. They didn't have a shot to that point in the period. And it didn't look great. They had one power play before that didn't look great. They get another one, and they pop one, and they never trailed in that game.
Well, a lot going right for them so far this season, 39 games obviously remaining, so hopefully that continues the trend. Thanks as always for being here, Vogues.
Thanks for having me.